Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Welcome, Bruce.
Hey, David, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I mean, the Oilers went into Los Angeles, where they always lose. They've lost 15 of the last 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they won. So
Yeah.
they really defied the odds. They LA. I just think they always get horrible refereeing in
Yep.
Los Angeles. It's the
Always.
worst place for getting a
Always.
call in the NHL is LA. I don't know why that is, but that's the
That's
case.
been for the Oilers for 15 years, easy, maybe 40.
And until the Oilers kind of heated that game up too, Bruce, that was a pretty rancid game. But the Oilers did come on,
Mhm.
and they got the 4-2 win. So it was really kind of a super boring game, but good for the Oilers. They outshot in terms of grade A chances, Bruce. It was 13-8
Eight.
for the Oilers. So it was, they were clearly the better team. They might have found a way to lose it, but they didn't, and they found a way to win it.
And shots on net were 31-23, including 12-4 in the third period, almost all of which featured the Oilers leading by one goal. So they weren't merely sitting on the lead and preventing shots, but they were actually getting stuff going on in LA's zone to generate 12 shots. So I didn't like how quickly the lead melted from 3-0 to 3-2, but from 3-2 till the end, the Oilers played, I thought, a real sound game.
Yeah, they only gave up after the second LA goal early in the third period,
First minute.
49 seconds in it. They only gave up one more grade A chance the whole third period, according to our count. So that's pretty good defensive hockey. Yeah, didn't seem like it was in doubt, but you never know. So we're going to do our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast, Bruce, and we're going to finish off with a trade deadline talk because that's tomorrow. And so
Today, counting the trade, actual trade made tonight. So,
yeah, the Oilers might have made their one and only move. So we'll talk about that. Bruce, what is your good thing?
yeah, my good thing is, well, I got to go with the um, defense pairing of Darnell Nurse and Ethan Bear, who played, I thought, monster minutes tonight. 28 minutes for Nurse, 27 for Bear, basically. Darnell, I thought it was one of his better games in quite a while, frankly. He had one or two issues, but nothing too serious. He was the lone guy back on a 2-on-1, though, on the 3-2 goal. But he made a number of real strong plays, a number of defensive stops, moved the puck okay, got involved in the offense, had 5 shots on net, including a couple of real good ones, and made a just, I thought, super play in the last minute of the game to uh, intercept the puck along the boards and make a pass over to Sheahan to enable the jailbreak that resulted in the empty net goal. For his part, Ethan Bear, man, he won a lot of puck battles, and he's sure showing some composure out there, isn't he, for a rookie? I mean, there was one play where Kevin Quinn was saying, "Well, Ethan Bear's got all kinds of time to make a play, and he's taking it while the Oilers are making a change." And I'm saying to my wife, he's got all kinds of time because he just burned two kings in a row on the forecheck with great reverse moves that left them hitting nothing but air while he walked away with the puck. He's got some very slick, sort of in tight moves to evade the forecheck, and often he'll follow that up with a quick pass. But in that particular case, he had the time and he took it. And he's just showing to be more and more veteran savvy, and it's quite exciting to think of how good this guy is going to be in another year or two as he grows his game with the experience of just repetition at the NHL level.
As he grows his game to Duncan Keith like proportions, Bruce. How about that?
Well, I'm seeing him as I'm seeing him as the Jared Spurgeon of the Edmonton Oilers, and
That'd be good.
that's a pretty high bar.
Yeah.
And in an ideal world, he's the Brian Rafalski, but he's just a little guy, right hand shot, but so smart and so mobile and so good with the puck that he's in the right place way more often than not. And I mean, obviously, those guys have long careers that we can look back on, and Ethan Bear doesn't yet, but he's shaping up to be a heck of a player for Oilers.
Yeah, there was only one moment I didn't like them. Nurse, there was one moment in the halfway through the second period, Kings kind of bust up the middle of the ice, and Nurse was just he gave up like he gave up so much gap on that play. He was way halfway between the blue line and the Oilers goalie as the Kings are busting over the blue line, and then they were able to isolate Ethan Bear and get a
Hmm.
grade A chance. So Nurse has got to be up on that play, like wake up, my friend. They did play a very strong game though, Bruce, and so did Jones and Larson.
Hmm.
Jones got I think 2 assists.
He
I've
did.
commented before about him getting that shot on net, able to get that shot through on net, and voila, got it on net, and Nuge scored. So
Jones a little more susceptible to pressure, heavy forechecking pressure. He'll cough the puck up, and he got absolutely. Well, I don't know why the expression is walked by Adrian Kempe because Kempe was doing anything but walking on the play. He just flew
he's
up and
fast.
he looks like Jones had good position on him, and Kempe just ducked his shoulder to the outside and he went right around him, like a hoop around a barrel, as Howie Meeker would say. And there's my mandatory 1920s sports reference for this podcast. No, no,
And
1950s.
probably
We'll give
maybe
Howie
some
some
Newfoundland
slack.
folk saying, I don't know,
Yeah, yeah.
because you're
Yes,
both
it
from
is.
Newfoundland, right?
Hoop around a barrel. Yeah, I sure am. And yes, that is a Newfoundland folk saying. And Howie said it a lot
Uh-huh.
when somebody walked around a defenseman. Howie, you could count on Howie to say like a hoop around a barrel, in that squeak of his.
What does it even
And
mean, though? Come on, what
a
does that
hoop
mean?
around a barrel circles the barrel, goes all the way around it. Just so
Oh,
the hoop is what
circling the barrel.
holds the barrel together. You know,
Oh,
the metal
yeah,
hoop
okay. Oh, the actual hoop, the metal hoop, the
that
metal
holds the
thing that
boards
holds the
together.
barrel. I've seen that, yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
on a rain barrel.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Old-fashioned barrel for sure. I mean, we are talking Howie Meeker, and an expression that might date back to the 1820s, for all I know. But
Hmm.
anyway, uh, so Jones is a little behind Bear on the curve, but certainly, lots promising in his game tonight, including those 2 assists, of course. So that can be. Well, I don't know. What's your good thing? Your turn.
Bruce, my good thing is there was something of a miracle in tonight's game. I don't know if this has ever happened before. It may never have happened before. Never. But Dustin Brown got called with a penalty in Los Angeles.
Oh,
I know that, like, I know that you're going
that's
to have to
stunning.
pick your jaw off the floor right now.
Hmm?
And I know that everyone listening to this is just their eyes are bugging out of their heads and they're not believing actually what I just said. No one believes what I just said, but I'm pretty sure it happened. Dustin Brown actually got called for a penalty in Los Angeles. It was like, man, I don't know what else to say about it. Just amazing. So,
Yeah.
Bruce, what is
Well, he
your
stuck a stick between somebody's legs, and was it Gaten Haas, who's proving to be a little bit of a penalty draw. I think that's three in
yeah?
the last 2 games that he's drawn. Anyway, yeah, or last three
But I
games.
always thought that was legal for Dustin Brown to do that in Los Angeles, Bruce. I didn't think that was a
Everything's legal for Dustin Brown
yeah.
now.
I didn't think that was a penalty for him. So again, I don't know
Shocking.
what went wrong. Something, they got the league head office has to talk to the league officials about that because
Hmm.
you can't have that kind of thing going on in a game in Los Angeles. It's just wrong. All right, what is your bad thing, Bruce?
Okay, I'm going to talk about something the league really does need to talk to the refs about. Connor McDavid, breakaway, goes in on goal, and mysteriously loses the puck as he's trying to deke the goalie. As Drew, the Invisible Man, Doughty, comes in, sticks his stick in, and hacks McDavid either on the stick or on the wrist. Certainly got him right up in the hand area, forcing McDavid to lose the puck just as he was making his move. And Mr. Referee standing 10 feet away on the good side, the reverse angle was the great replay that showed the obvious foul by Doughty. That's the side the ref was on. Like, what the hell is he looking at? It happens over and over and over again. I'm just sick of it as an Oilers fan. you know, I mean, that's a penalty shot. It's not just a penalty, it's a penalty shot. And nothing. And it's like Drew Doughty can do no wrong. And he's got a long history of uh, what's the word for it? Deviant behavior against McDavid.
Getting
Like
away
he's
with
always.
murder.
I mean, I remember elbowing McDavid right in the face one time in L.A. Missed that one too, and various chops and hacks on scoring chances, and it's just like the man can do no wrong, and you know they got to clean that up. McDavid was infuriated, and I didn't blame him because it's happened way, way, way too often, and yet I don't know what it is. Anyway, that's
Hadn't an Oiler picked up a ticky-tack foul in the neutral zone for like getting your hands on this? Oh, it was a slash, like a marginal slash from
mhm.
in the first period. Who was that? Like there was a really similar play.
Archibald, was it?
Yeah, Archibald, where he hit him on the stick.
Yeah,
It was like
but
if you're
that's slashing.
yeah,
The
if
guy
that's
was
so
in
if
the corner, no, nothing. It wasn't like league's best player on clear cut breakaway with everybody in the rink watching,
how
except the
about the
ref.
how about the Yamamoto? The guy grabs his hand, holds on to his hand, and wrenches him down to the ice or in the first period, no penalty. Bruce, one of the reasons the Oilers' record has been so poor in LA has been the refereeing in LA. It's one of the
It's a
reasons. Not
contributing factor for
and I'm
sure.
not saying it's the only reason.
Oh,
Obviously,
no, of
LA's been a
course not.
good team and the Oilers have been a terrible team and
Yep.
but the Oilers would have won a few more of those games, but they can't get a break from the refs in Los Angeles. And we're gonna in Anaheim. It's California, but LA is the worst place. Anaheim's another bad one, of course, and we're going there right away. Um, is it my bad thing now?
Oh,
I was trying to think. Oh, my bad thing. Yeah, Bruce. That first period was almost unwatchable. It was so utterly boring.
it
It
was.
was just it was tedious hockey. It was the most boring period of the year. Fortunately, Draisaitl scored right at the end of it. So usually, when at the end of a long run of boring play in Los Angeles, um, they get a screenshot on net that deflects in off something or someone, and they take the lead at the end of the first period. That's the usual first period in LA. But this one ended really swell with McDavid absolutely whipping a shot in, or excuse me, Draisaitl whipping a shot in off McDavid's pass. But other than that, man, that was a wretched period of hockey. And if the NHL was trying to sell that,
Yeah,
no
that's what I
one
was
go to
thinking. Like,
games. No one's going to go to games because it's horrible hockey. McClellan hockey isn't the best hockey. I don't think. Like honestly, Tom
uh,
McClellan hockey isn't the most exciting hockey to watch. How about that, Bruce? Agree or disagree?
well, didn't now that he's in LA, it's horrible.
It was kind of horrible the last few years.
Back when he had McDavid, it was less boring. But yeah, that was.
Up the
I mean,
board.
I guess you give the Oilers some credit for being patient because the puck was
Yeah,
not bouncing for them well, and they had to sort of recover, and they didn't do anything stupid, and they didn't get burned. But the whole period seemed to be both teams regrouping all the time because nobody was ever making any progress, and they weren't able to, make clean passes, and it was just dull, dull, dull. And I was saying at the end of the first period, imagine paying $200 or $300 for a ticket to watch this because it was just it was hard. But it did pick up after that, and it grew into an okay hockey game. Nothing too great, but it had its moments, and
yeah. The more okay because the Oilers won and they really needed to win.
yeah,
Benson almost scored in the first. That was the other one moment of excitement when Benson got that shot in the slot.
nice
Bruce,
pass from Josh Archibald there.
yeah. What's your number, Bruce?
Well, I'm going to go, I think, with six, which is the number of shots on goal each from Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl tonight. And when you have those big guys pounding pucks on net, you got a pretty good chance that one or two of them are going to go in. And in fact, each of them potted a goal. Sandwiching a goal by Ryan Nugent Hopkins is the big three. Looked after basically all of the scoring against the netminder, but they were peppering him with Calvin Peterson. They were peppering him with good shots, and Leon in particular was very unlucky not to have a couple more goals than he did have. But you have those. So the Oilers had the right guys. Like of the 31 shots they had, 15 of them came off the sticks of the big three. So, and three of the goals. So that was a big part of it. And of course, the one goal McDavid did get was just an absolute gem. That probably should have been mentioned as one of our good things. But what a beauty!
We see goals like that all the time, though, for McDavid. I mean,
We
how
do.
often does Dustin Brown get a penalty in Los Angeles? I don't
It's
think
true. This is
it's
true.
never
This is true,
happened.
David.
So you got to focus on the bizarre, as
Yeah,
part of
it's
it.
true.
In
Yeah.
journalism school, that's one of the 7 things they listed as newsworthy, and the bizarre was one of them. So
Mhm.
I went to that lesson from the Carleton
Okay.
School of Journalism tonight. So Bruce, the Oilers, second now in their division, eh? Um, 73 points, Vegas 76, Vancouver 72. Okay, let's go
Vegas
to my
hot.
number.
Vegas hot. They won again tonight in overtime in Anaheim.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't believe in the Vegas Knights. I don't think they're a very good team. So there you have it. Um, watch them beat the Oilers in the playoffs. So Bruce, I'm going to segue to our playoff segment with my number because I'm just going to go. So the Oilers acquired Mike Green, and this was Kurt Levins of the Cult of Hockey telegraphed this earlier today in a post. I think it was the first time that I can recall I'd seen Green mentioned in a kind of a serious trade rumor
Hmm.
to the Oilers, and Kurt nailed it this morning, telegraphed that totally. Um, and it came true tonight. The Oilers traded a conditional pick if it's either a fourth rounder in 2020 or a third rounder. Can't be this year though, can it? Third rounder because they've already given up. They
No,
already could
the
give up their
con-
third rounder.
conditional third rounder in 2021
21.
if two conditions are met, which is the Oilers going to the conference finals and Mike Green playing at least half of those playoff games.
Yeah.
So
So
otherwise, it's a fourth this year because they don't
yeah,
have a third, or they're almost certain not to have a
yeah.
third this
The Oilers also moved Kyle Brodziak's contract in that deal.
Nice.
So Bruce, I've excuse me, I've written a post about this already, and in doing so, I went to Natural Stat Trick, which I like to do to see where Mike Green rates in terms of even strength scoring, and in terms of measuring offense, the good old trusty point, NHL point, is a really great way to measure contribution to offense. It misses the defenseman a little bit because they have to make the fourth assist on a play, or
Yeah.
the third assist on a play, and they won't get credit for that. But it kind of hits most of them equally, although the more offensive minded ones get hit a little bit harder. So this year, though, Green, who has been a good point scorer in the NHL, is not one this year. He ranks out of 217 regular NHL D-men, and that's D-men who have played at least 300 minutes of even strength. He ranks
Hmm.
181st out of 217. So the only Oilers D-man who ranks lower than that is Adam Larson, who ranks 196th out of 217. The good news, Bruce, for the Oilers is they've got 4 players in the top 100. Nurse 45th overall, Benning 48th, Bear 68th, and Jones 74th. So they have 4 D-men right in that very nice little area, top 75 in the NHL for points. And you go back a few years, they might have had one guy in the top 100.
Hmm.
That was it. And Clefbaum's at 101st out of 217. Russell is 153rd. So Clefbaum's right there too.
Right.
So essentially, they got 5 guys who are putting up points at a fairly good clip. And Green's, this is, excuse me, this
That's
is a
even
real
strength.
insurance. That's even strength, not power play.
So Clefbaum
So
gets
this,
a ton on the power play.
yeah, he does. So this strikes me as a real depth move. I don't like Green isn't a better player right now than Matt Benning, Adam Larson, or Ethan Bear on the right side. Now he's going to come in and probably bump Lagesson out of the lineup, though. Lagesson struggled a little bit, I think.
Hmm.
Again tonight, there was one of the goals. I thought he got sucked over to Dustin Brown, who was kind of at the side of the net, and he forgot. There's Anze Kopitar right in front of the net. Lagesson did, and Brown just chipped the puck to Kopitar, who scored. Lagesson should have been in the middle of those 2 players. So again, I think it was kind of a rookie mistake on his part, a bit of a positioning error. And I could see him coming out and maybe Benning moving over in the short term to the left side. Benning has played, I recall, a few games on the left side. So maybe we'll see that. Maybe we won't. But I do think Green might immediately take on that role. And then we'll see what happens with Chris Russell. And there's some question about when Russell's coming back, and then Clefbaum as well. What did you think of the deal?
Well, Green's got a long history of scoring points, but uh, even as recently as last year, he scored 26 points in just 43 games, which is, it's almost a 50-point season for the full 82. The downside is he never plays the full 82. He misses 10 or more games every season, and sometimes more than that. This year he's only played 48, so he's already missed his 10 games. But he's only got 11 points and a brutal minus 32 on a very, very historically brutal Detroit Red Wings club. So all of that kind of stat can be taken with a grain of salt because it's very much team driven. When the team stinks, the guys they rely on
Yeah,
are
but
going to get
he's
clobbered.
he's
21
probably
minutes of
not
ice
doing too
time a
well.
game, though. He's a regular, and he's still playing steady ice time, but his offense is very much dried up. 11 points in 48 games. We'll see what happens. I mean, he is a puck mover. He's a very uber experienced power play defenseman. He had 18 power play goals one year earlier in his career. Like there's a guy that's got the experience, but 34 years old. Like he's well on the downside of the journey. And you know what? His cap hit is $5.375 million. But Detroit is eating half of that. So the Oilers will only need to find room for 2.6 and change. And how Ken Holland's going to do that? I mean, the riddance of the Brodziak contract makes for about 1.1 million in room, so it increases the payroll by about 1.5. But that's right down in the margin of what they could possibly have available. So I'm not sure if they have to move out another contract tomorrow, or if they bring anything in, they're going to have to move something out to accommodate it. Like there's next to nothing left at this moment.
Yeah, Bruce. In terms of his value to the Oilers, like I think his drop in play is real. Like he's
Hmm.
34. He's had
Yeah.
a major drop in point production here. I think that's real. I don't think
Hmm.
this isn't like this is who he is right now. That said, that said, and this partly comes from listening to the great book on Scotty Bowman that Ken Dryden just wrote. The Toronto Maple Leafs of the 60s got a lot of mileage out of old veterans.
Did they
They'd bring
ever?
them in, bring them in for the playoffs and crank them up, wind them up. St. Louis Blues, the Bowman coached in the late 60s, same thing. Wind them up you just need 10 games out of those guys, and suddenly they could find youth in a bottle and play strong hockey again. So maybe we'll see that out of Mike Green. Maybe we'll be thinking, man, maybe in a couple months we're going to be saying, man, that was a great move by Ken Holland bringing in Green. He's just playing like he was 25 again. I wouldn't be surprised if we were saying that.
Well, he just got let out of jail, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, and apparently he had a 10-team list of teams he could be traded to, and Edmonton was on the list. And probably the Ken Holland connection was part of why that was. But
No,
I
he
guess
he wasn't on the. They weren't on the
Edmonton's
list.
they were on the list of teams he could be traded to.
LeBrun said he waived his list.
Oh, okay. Then I heard it wrong.
Well, that's my understanding. Pierre LeBrun said he waived his no trade, that he wasn't on the original list at least, and then he waived it. So that's what
Yeah,
LeBrun.
well, his list probably read something like this: "Get me the hell out of Detroit."
Anywhere but Ottawa.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll see if this rejuvenates him any. But this is a guy near the end. I'm thinking Rick Chartraw, 1984 Oilers territory. A forgotten member of the '84 Stanley Cup champions, was the multi-time Habs Cup winner.
Well, I'm
But
hoping.
he wasn't an offensive player, but he was at the sort of similar point at the tail end of his career that he was brought in for experience more than he was for day-to-day talent.
I'm hoping Reijo Ruotsalainen in 1990, Bruce, but that's too much to hope for.
Oh, good.
So okay, let's do for the trade deadline. What's the most that you think they're going to do tomorrow, and what's the least that you think they're going to do? So we'll both do. Let's both start with most, and then let's both start with least, and
Okay.
then we'll go to the big bang at the end, the most. So what's the least that you think they're going to do tomorrow, Bruce?
Nothing. Keep it short and simple. That's the least that might happen. I frankly do expect that they are going to bring in Tyler Ennis. That's a name that's been bandied about quite a lot. He does have an affordable ticket at $800,000. So they could, by sweetening the pot somehow, they could move another contract out and bring him in and bring in some secondary offensive talent. But for those thinking he might be the solution to McDavid's wing problem, not so fast. Um, but so, well, that's what's your thought of the least before I go
Well,
to
the
the
least
most?
again, you're right. Like it's nothing. They could do nothing, but I don't think they're going to do nothing. I think we could see Jujar Kara traded away.
Hmm.
Maybe I don't know if Ottawa wants him, but I could see them wanting him just to change the scenery. He's kind of a useful player, good penalty killer, physical player.
He was good
We
tonight.
heard rumors from I think Stauffer and Friedman on Friday that both Toronto and Boston were interested in Kara.
Hmm.
So I could see Jujar Kara getting traded away. I could see Ennis coming in and Ennis providing some depth, third line depth, if nothing else, fourth line depth. Could he play with McDavid and do well? Possibly. He has scored in the past. He's scoring okay this year. So that will be a smaller move. Would you agree? The Ennis
Yeah.
thing isn't obviously a big trade. He's not a top six winger. It's a stretch to see him that way. Cassian's coming back, Neil's coming back. They're going to be McDavid's wingers most likely. But Ennis could possibly he could take over from Neil if they wanted more speed there in the playoffs. Cassian, Ennis, and
Hmm.
McDavid will be a very fast line because Tyler Ennis, he can fly out there. So that might be fun.
Yeah. Well, he is 30 years old, same age as Sam Gagner, and he has some things in common with Sam Gagner. Which is to say, a bunch of seasons in the 40 plus point range. Never really exploded as 50 plus point scorer at any stage. But his scoring fell off the map in the first half of the decade. He averaged around 40 points a year. But in the last 5 years, partly injury issues, but 11, 13, 22, 18. And then this year, 33 points is actually the most he's had in the last 5 seasons. So he's recovered probably his health first and foremost. And whether he's found the fountain of youth or he got on a little hot streak there in Ottawa or whatever, his offensive numbers are actually pretty decent to this point, especially for an $800,000 player. Did you
Sorry,
mute us? Okay.
I muted myself there.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I was
I
going,
was
hey,
just
wait a
saying that
minute. His
I
lips
was
are
just
moving.
I was just reiterating what you were saying anyway. So yeah,
Okay.
the least could be nothing, but it could be moving Kara or Ennis, and both those would be. We'll see what happens there. Um, I was just trying to do a search on natural stat trick for Ennis's even strength scoring. I'll keep doing that. Bruce, what's the most that you think they might do? What's the biggest move that you think can
Well,
happen?
in an ideal world, you somehow spring a trade for a real, like NHL quality scoring winger for McDavid. Ideally, a left winger. I mean, we know that Cassian is out there in purgatory, but soon to be let out of jail and back into the lineup, and he's a right winger and bound to go right back with McDavid. But tonight, I mean, they have Sam Gagner, right shot, slow skating, former center, and right winger playing left wing on the McDavid line because, well, they don't really have that many options. So
Yeah.
the Oilers' left side is uh, outside of converted center Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. The Oilers don't have a heck of a lot on the left side at the current time. So going after a real scorer like Thomas Tatar would be a real feather in Holland's cap if he can figure out a way to do it. And the trouble is going to be how do you possibly fit one of those guys under the salary cap? Unless you convince him to take James Neal in return or something, right? And I can't quite see that happening.
Well, you'd have to trade Chris Russell or Adam Larson, right? Like you'd have to move out a fairly large contract. So maybe there's a I don't see them trading Larson at this
Right.
point, but
I
maybe
don't know.
could they trade Kara and Russell like and a draft pick, like and Puljujärvi, like
A prospect, yeah. Yeah, it would certainly take a package, and then beyond the package, then you have to solve the contract salary cap thing. So I'm not very optimistic, but they um, that's sort of the upper end thing is somehow springing a scoring winger.
I guess
I
it could
don't.
be Manning and Gagne's contract. Like there's another big couple contracts.
Yeah, well, that I mean that just raises the price tag, right?
Yeah.
That the other team is taking a couple of bad contracts, giving up a good player. So you add all those things together, and the cost just goes up and up and up. So we'll see. I'd be very surprised if Brandon Manning goes anywhere. I don't think he's. I think he's on everyone's 10-foot pole list.
Yeah, you're probably right about that, Bruce. So Tatar, is that who you got your
Yeah,
hopes?
yeah, someone along those lines. I mean, Kreider is. I don't think
No.
he's possible. And I mean, ideally, they get someone that had, another year on his pact or something, so it's not a strictly a rental. And Holland has indicated he would give up his first rounder for someone who's not strictly a rental. But if it's a highly paid player, it's a mixed blessing. Like the guy's got to cover the bet on his contract, and
Yes. What
or
were we
the other
saying?
team has to retain. But I don't see why Montreal would be doing that unless the pot coming back was very sweet indeed.
Yeah. Let's just have a look here. I've just done the search now. I guess Anthony Athanasio sat out tonight's
Mm-hmm.
game, Bruce, in Detroit as well, not just
Mm-hmm.
Green.
Right.
And that would be a very interesting player, if you ask me, obviously, because he's so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to see him. So let me just do a couple searches here, and I'll tell you where these guys rank. Because we're gonna look at their even strength point scoring because they're unlikely to play on the Oilers' power play, correct?
Most likely, unlikely, yes.
So Tatar ranks 29th overall in the NHL. Athanasio ranks, so he's only ranking 237th, and he's on
Yeah.
a 1 year deal, 3 million. He's an
Mm-hmm.
RFA. So
Yep.
if you're trading for him, you have
He-
him locked up a bit and might be able to get him. What's Kreider at? And they're not getting Kreider, of course, 74th. Um, what do you think of Athanasio?
Uh, I think there's a lot of talk about the guy. Like people are really, really obsessed with his speed. I've never been that impressed with him. Like he creates chances and he doesn't necessarily finish a whole lot of them. His mind you, again, this is the Detroit syndrome, but what is he like minus 50 or something now? I mean, he was well. He's tending in that direction because he was deep into the minus 40s the last time I looked, and they lost again tonight to Calgary. So who knows? But uh, again, like plus minus at the best of times is
Fraud.
landmine
Yeah.
territory. And when you're talking about an extreme team, whether really good or really bad, it'll catch players in the net that makes them look better or worse than they really are, depending on the quality of the team they're surrounded by. So, which is a criticism I know you've had of the type of stat for a long, long time.
Yeah. Well, I'm not alone in that. What
Nope.
about Mike Hoffman?
I like Hoffman. Man, now there is a shooter. Like that's a guy that if you put him on McDavid, like I'm less about adding speed to McDavid's line. You know what? McDavid's line has speed. It has
Yes.
McDavid, right? You want complementary players. Why does a complementary player have to have that same skill? I want a complementary player that can take a sweet McDavid pass and bang in the net. And that is Mike Hoffman. Now, whether Florida would be convinced to give him go without a sweet basket of picks and prospects going their way, I have my doubts. But he's a guy that would fit the mold for sure.
Yeah, Florida. They're in the Atlantic, are they? Um,
Yeah.
or the Metropolitan. They're just
Oh,
2 points behind Toronto.
they're right there in the playoff hunt, so they'd want something back that in terms of real player, I think.
Yeah, I don't see them moving Hoffman, and yeah, I can see. So I actually, if you look at the teams likely to trade someone, the Rangers might not want to trade anyone. They're right in the hunt, but Buffalo, Montreal, and New Jersey are kind of the only teams over there that are obviously sellers. So could be pretty limited. I'm starting to lean towards them not doing much at all here. Montreal, are they? I guess Montreal should be a seller.
They're they're pretty much out of it.
Yeah. So maybe they'll make a move.
How about
But
Montreal playing Detroit 4 times this year and losing all 4 games? And Detroit something like 11-45 in all their other games and 4-0 against Montreal. How frustrating! How frustrating would that be to a Habs fan?
yeah.
Man.
Alrighty. Excuse me. Well, it's late night already. Let's leave it there, Bruce. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll be doing a podcast, I'm sure, tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll be following the trade deadline with interest. Yeah. Athanasiu, in addition to being a very difficult name to pronounce, -45 with
Ooh.
10 goals in 46 games.
Ooh.
So he's only, yeah, like he missed a bunch of times, so he's basically a minus per game player, which is pretty horrendous. But again, I have not explored the nature of those, how many of them are actual 5-on-5 and so on. But uh, he's a player I'm fairly leery about. Let's put it that way.
You'd be
Anyway,
buying low, Bruce. You'd be buying
let's
low.
let's see what happens. Let's see what happens tomorrow, as you say, and I'm sure be talking some more then.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for talking, Bruce.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.